from a marketing perspective, this is genius, and here's why. You are attracting patients. The 80 new patients a month that you're getting, those are more GP patients, and that the cost to acquire those is way lower than a cost to acquire a full arch patient.
Other people just starting out, they're saying that they do maybe like 4 or 5 cases a year, and it's hard to get comfortable if you're only doing 4 or 5 cases a year. We've had months where we don't do many or 0, and then we've had other months where we've done 6 or 8 arches. Like I said, we're not burning the house down by any means. There's people out there doing way more than I am.
Welcome to another episode of the Full Arch Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more full arch cases for offices just like yours. And today I have a special guest, Dr. Tim, who is a practicing dentist at Compassionate Dental Care. And he's going to share how he converted his GP office and bolted on full arch and all the struggles and things that he had to go through to have a successful practice that could actually support both GP patients and full arch patients. You're not going to want to miss this one. He shares all the details, everything from bringing the lab in-house, how he does his marketing, and he's going to share some gems in here that you probably haven't heard before. So make sure you stay tuned for this one. All right, Dr. Tim, so why don't you tell me the number one thing that is driving growth for you in the full arch space right now?
Believe it or not, it's just finding existing patients that need it. We see in our practice, we see, 65 to 80 new patients a month. And then we do some marketing for implants and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, people come in and they haven't been to the dentist in a long time, and they think they just need a cleaning, and they've got a full-blown perio. They've got a lot of root canals that they've had in the past that have failed. They got root tips in there, and they think they just need a couple of a broken teeth out, or that kind of stuff. And a lot of times I'm the first one telling them that, hey, your teeth are terminal, and we need to possibly consider something else. So
you're finding them before they've had the idea planted in them that, hey, you might need full arch, or you might need this larger treatment. They're coming to you for general dentistry, saying, hey, can you help me out? And then you are educating them and kind of pushing them down that path of needing more treatment. Is that am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Sometimes I had one lady come in, she wanted to do Invisalign, and she had such bad perio. I told her, I said, I don't think that's the wise move for you. I really think we need to consider this. And so I think she's actually in the pipeline. A lot of times I tell people, I say, we got 2 hurdles that we need to get over. The first is the emotional component of actually losing your teeth. Okay. A lot of times when I see people, that's the first, I'm the first one telling them that they're going to lose all their teeth.
Yeah.
And so they have to get over that. And once they get over that, and then it's always the financial hurdle. How do they fit that in their budget? And I usually say it that way. I say it's not how much it is, it's how do we fit it in their budget.
Yeah.
And that seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, Sorry to disrupt the show, but I got something crazy to share with you. We are attempting to connect with all of our listeners. We have thousands of people that listen to this podcast, and we want to meet you in person. We have 4 events coming up, and I want to give you a discount code that you can use for the next week to save $300 off your ticket. The discount code is Gary Bird, and the link is going to be just down below. You can also go to smcnational.com/events. I hope to connect with you in person and help each other grow our businesses. Can't wait to see you soon. Different strategy, right? So a lot of other people who are out there are trying to attract the full arch patients in and get them into their office, which is great. But then you get a whole different slew of questions. They're much more, they're going to be thinking in a totally different way, where you're kind of meeting the patients where they're at. From a marketing perspective, this is genius. And here's why. You are attracting patients the 80 new patients a month that you're getting, those are more GP patients, and that the cost to acquire those is way lower than a cost to
Right.
acquire a full arch patient. There's a similar strategy in pedo to ortho. So there's a lot of practices out there that do ortho plus pedo, and it's expensive to acquire an ortho patient, but it's relatively cheap, fractions of the cost to attract a pedo patient. And then from the pedo patient, you find ortho patients. And
Right.
so that's such an amazing a model if done properly. And I kind of want to talk through how you've built out that model, but just give us a rough idea. You're attracting about 80 GP patients a month. How many of those would you say? And I know there's like, I'm sure they roll over, from the month before and things like that. But how many full arch cases would you say that come out of 80 new patients a month if done properly?
Oh, I don't know. It's not a lot. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we get a ton out of that, because we don't.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's building a pipeline.
Yeah.
Like one time I talked to a patient about it, and she called me 18 months later,
Yeah.
to do it. So a lot of this, it kind of comes in spurts, but we get the full arch patients too, and I love those because they've already done the research. We don't have to talk much about it. A lot of times the people are saying, I don't know if it's just I talk real with them, and I don't have a problem talking money with them either. I just tell them the price, and pretty much, in the first to third of the conversation, just so we get that out of the way, and then I say, okay, we got that out of the way. Now let's talk about it. Okay. And
Yep.
then, it seems it's got two different ways to go about it, but I think the GP way, I would say that we probably have got really good success because I'm the first one telling them about it,
Yep.
and then they trust me, and if it's a financial fit, then a lot of times they'll move forward.
Okay. Now, what to help people out there? So if there's somebody in GP who's like, "Hey, I want to add full arch," and we were kind of talking about this before, that it's not as easy as just like, "Yeah, I'm doing full arch now. I took some courses and now I can do it," because there's a lot of operational and marketing and just how we answer the phones, how we schedule. How long did it take you to kind of add full arch to your guys' GP practice?
Well, it's kind of funny. I've been doing it for about 15 years. We did our first full arch, and I had a periodontist in my office that did the surgery. I don't do the surgery myself. I've always had either a periodontist or an oral surgeon, or I've had, I guess a new term is, I'm a super GP.
Super GP, yeah. Yep.
A GP that does surgery and all that kind of stuff. So, but it takes a while to get the flow down and everything. We just recently, about 2.5 years ago, we went to an all digital workflow.
Oh, okay.
And that's been a learning curve, but it's been fun. I think in a lot of ways it's easier, but in a lot of ways it's also harder too. But I think overall it's a really good way to help the patient.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, digital workflows are huge, and I know that it can be a little bit stressful when you add them, but once you learn them, it saves so much time and so much energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's consistent too. So
Yes.
how long would you say it took you once you did your first case? So you did your first case, and usually when people start doing cases, did they realize like, oh, my team's not like equipped for this yet? How long till you were like comfortable that your team got it? They understood what was going on.
Well, we weren't doing a whole lot back then, so I would say it took us longer than normal. You know, um, when I talk to other people just starting out, they're saying that they do maybe like 4 or 5 cases a year. And it's hard to get comfortable if you're only doing 4 or 5 cases a year. I think
Yeah.
you need to do a couple a month to really start to get your flow, and then we've had months where we don't do many and or zero, and then we've had other months where we've done 6 or 8 arches, And like I said, we're not burning the house down by any means. There's people out there doing
Yeah, of
way more
course.
than I am, but
But you're
you know,
also
like,
seeing all these GP patients. So this is the way I
yeah,
look at it. Like if I was a dentist, it's like, okay, I have my recurring base of patients that are coming back every 6 months. I have it's like recurring revenue basically from a business
mhm,
standpoint. And then on
mhm.
top of that, now you're adding these larger cases that the ROI on them is really, really big. And that really takes your office to the next level. I think that's how I kind of see it. Is that how you look at it as well?
Yeah, and that's actually we actually separated the practices because that I incorporated um, an implant only practice called brand new, brand new smile implants, just to be able to do that because I didn't want the ROI getting mixed up with the regular practice.
Yeah, that's a good point. So are is that separated just for numbers on your books or is that separated for marketing purposes as well?
Both, both
Got it.
numbers, marketing, and we've also got a separate part of the office that's it's almost like a separate wing just for doing full arch cases.
Got Oh, okay. So you've literally extended out your office to make it just for full arches.
Yep.
When did you add that to your practice?
We did that about 3 or 4 years ago. I had uh, I hired a treatment coordinator that used to work for one of the large chains, and he said, I know how to do this. He said, let's why don't we make a separate practice? And we did, and we made a real nice consult room, and then we about a year into it, then we made a couple of big surgery rooms, and then we added uh, a full service lab too, where we can make all of our uh, full arch zirconia and everything right in the house.
Wow. How long did that take? How long did that process take you?
Oh, we did all that over a period of 2 or 3 years, I guess.
2 to 3 years, yeah. And do you know roughly cost on something like that? If someone's considering going down that road?
Oh, yeah. If you're going to add a lab with the milling chambers and everything, you're going to spend 150,000 at least.
Okay. All right. But so far that's worked really well for you. I mean, you're it sounds like you're this makes total sense from a business standpoint.
Well, yeah, the payments uh, on the machines are less than what I was paying my lab guy per arch. So, I have a lab guy in house now, and he does all that. Plus, he does other things, crowns and dentures and all that kind of stuff. So, it's a pretty good ROI.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you're doing that you've realized over time that this has paid really big dividends as far as helping you grow this side of your practice?
Um, what have we done? Yeah, uh, as part of the digital workflow, we got a 3D printer, and that, and the more we use that, the more I like it. We find more and more uses for it. Every
Did so,
day.
did
Um,
someone build it for you or did you guys kind of piece it together?
build what? 3D
The
printer?
digital No, 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 the digital
Oh,
workflow.
oh, 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 yeah. We went through the the Full Arch Masters course with Ryan Dunlap.
Yep.
And that's a really good course. They taught us all about uh, the milling and the 3D printing and the photogrammetry and all that. That's a really good course for anybody that wants to get into it.
Yep.
I would suggest.
Fullarchmasters.com course. So that
Yeah.
was helpful. So after you learned how to do the treatment, then you went to that course to learn how to build out the digital workflow for your office. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Now, like I said, we've been treating in full arches for about 15 years, and then heard about Ryan, and so we looked into that, and we went out there a couple of years ago, and it's been they've been wonderful because they've got really good support afterwards too. In fact, they're helping us with the case right now that we have to do. So, yeah, but he runs a really good program out there.
Awesome. So, last question for you. If you are in a stadium, you got 30,000 dentists in there who are like you, they're GP practices, and they're either thinking about adding full arch or they've already added it and they're kind of in the woods of, hey, what did I get into? And this isn't what I was told that it was going to be. What would be your one piece of advice for them now that they're either thinking about starting or just getting started?
Uh, I would say, I would say not to give up. If you have a little bit of a struggle, don't worry. It's we all did when we started. There's always more to learn, and I think it gets better and better. And I think the biggest reward is just seeing how it changes people's lives. It's hard to change a person's life when you do an occlusal filling, but boy, I tell you, you take somebody who hasn't smiled in 20 years, and in one day you can get rid of all the infection in their mouth, and you can give them a smile. And I mean, it's not uncommon that we have people cry in our chair when we put those teeth in it. And that's the day after they're all swollen and everything still, but they put those teeth in, they smile, and it's just amazing to see that.
That's so awesome. Well, I totally agree. The impact is huge. And I really feel that dentistry obviously plays a huge role in everybody they come in contact to. But I love your point that sometimes when you're doing a filling or you're doing small amounts of treatment, the impact isn't quite as large, or you don't feel it quite as much as the dentist
Mhm.
compared to when you're totally transforming someone's life and they're able to smile again. They're able to eat the foods that they want. They're able to have the confidence to get the job that they want or whatever it may be. That's such a big must be such a rewarding thing to see at the end. I've seen the videos and I've talked to people obviously, but to have your hands inside of something like that, that's huge. And I really appreciate you coming on, being very, very honest and upfront with the audience. I think these are the kinds of conversations that are going to help people because there's over 10,000 baby boomers retiring every single day, and they're all
Yeah,
going to need implants and those kind of things soon. They want to live an active
yeah,
life. They have the finances and to afford it, and so you're gonna see this just continue to grow and grow and grow. And people like you have kind of led the way for these GP offices to be able to add implants. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.